Hello everyone, and this is Gail, and today I will be showing a video of one of my commissions that I've done. It's a sped up video, and I will provide some commentary on my thought process behind making Twitch emotes. So my client here is named Mr. Fox, and he first came to me on Reddit because I posted an ad saying that I was accepting commissions for Twitch emotes. He ordered 3 from me and he liked them so much that he ordered another 2, so I am showing these 2. One is a hype emote and the other one will be a fox that is wearing a helmet that's themed from the game Escape from Tarkov. So all of my sketches start out on paper. It's like the best tablet that exists out there, you know, it has no input lag, it's responsive in real time, and it has texture to it. I used to have a Wacom Bamboo tablet, but ever since Wacom stopped supporting that particular model's software, I couldn't download drivers for Windows 10. So when I got a Windows 10 computer with that operating system, I just couldn't use the tablet, and I never bothered to buy another one. So I do vector art because it's one of the forms of art where having a tablet and a mouse doesn't really change the process that much. Like, maybe a tablet might be easier, but at the same time I don't think so, since vector art is mostly focused on the nodes and adjusting the nodes to be where you want them to be. I also like vector art, it's very clean and precise, and that's the kind of thing that turns me on. Anyway, so I had done a lot of initial sketches on paper for the hype emote. One of them was turning the Y into like a fox themed thing, but I think that would have ended up looking really bad, so I didn't do that. I went with this design in the end since it focuses on the text, and as a general rule, for all of my art pieces, I like to focus on the message that it sends. I think art, is important in that you need to be able to communicate your intent. And in the case of text, well, the text itself is the message, so there's not really much more I can put onto the emote. Emote real estate is really small and really crucial and really valuable. So for hype especially, I didn't want to mix texts and faces together. Like, I didn't want letters and faces, because it would be like a conflict of interest between the two. So I could either, focus on the faces and the expression of a little mascot character, or I could just focus on making the text itself really, shiny. Especially for hype, I felt that I wanted to make the text, really big and exciting. I also chose orange for the color. This is the color of the red fox, and it's a very typical, familiar color scheme. If you think of a fox, you think of orange. Orange is also a great color. Like, it's not as obnoxiously bright as yellow, and it's not as serious and dire as red. So it's, it's that in-between that's really good. It pops, and it's also, like, exciting. For here I tried to give the text a little more fox coloring, like I gave it a white underside. Turns out that was unnecessary, and it looked really disgusting when I zoomed out into a really small size to kind of simulate what the emote would look like. So I ended up just unifying the colors in the end. I have to make sure I define the outlines very much. I did make the H shaped with like fox ears, and that had the side effect of making the H look like an M. But that's only really at full size. I think once it gets reduced to the actual size, people aren't really gonna look that closely and be like, that looks like an M! It says BIPE instead of hype. I mean, I guess, maybe someone will do that, but most people won't, so it's not a big deal. Yep, so sorry if it looks a little hectic. I do keep zooming out because I want to preview the small emote size. The rendering in Adobe Illustrator is focused on speed, so it won't be a pixel perfect accurate representation, but it's close enough. And here I decided to add a background since I thought, you know, that would make it look more hype, more energy. I chose blue because it's a heroic and noble color, and also it's reminiscent of a night sky in which strobe lights shine their brightest. Blue is also the complementary color of orange, and I think orange and blue are like the only color, like complementary colors that look good together, because the other pairings look kind of weird. Like yellow and purple are complementary colors because they're opposites on the color wheel. But really, complementary just means they cancel each other out and turn into gray when you mix them together. Or in most cases, like a mushy brown. So, yeah, the pairings, like red and green are also complementary colors, but they tend to remind you of Christmas, and they're very cheesy. So blue and orange are really like the best colors together since they have so many connotations with it. Like orange is like the sunset and blue is like the ocean, and yeah, it's, you know, I think that's the best pairing for complementary colors. As for shading, I use a multiplied blend layer because it's convenient, and for the most part it looks the way I want it to be. For parts of the letters that are close together, I try to have like shadows that match the color of each other. So basically orange in like the really close crevices, the shadows are gonna be orange colored because of light bouncing. And then for shadows that are more further apart, I used purple. Since purple is a complementary color of yellow and the light is yellow, so the shadows, as a general rule, should be the complement, which is purple. I don't always follow this. I think purple in general makes a very good shading color. And even if the light source is green or red, I will still use purple. And here I'm adding a lot of highlights in a layer that's set to the overlay blend mode. But overlay isn't always the greatest, so I made another layer called details. And details just has like random miscellaneous shapes that I want without having a universal layer applied to them. And in this case, I added white highlights to accentuate the plasticky texture of the text emote. I mean, my default emotes for text tend to be blocky and plasticky. I guess it looked a little more jelly-like in this case. I added a gradient to the background to make it look more interesting. It won't be noticeable at a small size, but at the intermediate sizes that are like, you know, around 100 pixels, then it'll be noticeable. I also added more whites to the beams just to make them look stronger and exaggerated. So here I set up the sketch for the second emote, which is a Kila helmet. I had to look up on Google Images the shape of this helmet several times. It's basically a military helmet with like a faceplate, like a welder's faceplate attached to it, and then another plate of metal to reinforce the eye slit. But I knew that as an emote I wasn't really gonna be able to show all the dimensions, so I flattened the faceplate a little bit. So the reinforcing plate isn't really its own entity, it's just kind of there. Which, you know, it kind of bothers me since I like to at least be accurate and make it believable looking, but, you know, that's okay. It's for the sake of the emote and for readability. Also, Mr. Fox asked for a marble fox coloring, and I know I've never seen a marble fox before, but I was relieved to know that a lot of the markings are the same as like your normal typical red fox. You know, the black tipped ears. It's just the difference is that it has more gray and white. I also suggested adding a glowing eye to it because the Kila helmet reminded me of Goblin Slayer. You know, Goblin Slayer is an anime that's very gruesome, and the main character's main motive is that he has red eyes, but you don't see it unless he's mad. And so it's, you know, I thought it would be pretty cool since the slit itself, like, just the helmet itself is kind of boring. The vibe is supposed to be more goofy, so that's why the helmet is tilted. but I'm guessing, you know, it's kind of too cool to pass up a glowing eye. So it's kind of more of like a serious goofiness, like a death stare kind of goofiness. I think that's fine. The Kila helmet has 3 stripes, of 3 vertical stripes that go across the face and throughout the back of the head. And the Goblin Slayer helmet has vertical slats, or slits, you know, for like air holes or whatever. So they do look pretty similar, and I just thought I could make the allusion to any anime fans out there. Mr. Fox is also a weeb, and I am a weeb, and as weebs, we celebrate weeb things together. So here I'm doing the fire, and I look at reference pictures of Goblin Slayer. I didn't really know which eye to light on fire. Usually it's his left eye, but some artists show his right eye on fire, so I was like, okay, I'll just make the right eye glow because it seemed to make more sense compositionally for this picture. And here I am adding a lens flare effect. You know, it's like a starburst, and I thought that was really cool. I actually removed this lens flare effect later on, and I was really sad, like, for me to do that because I spent so much time trying to make it look right. But I concluded that it was better to remove the flare because, you know, the center of the face is already really busy. The emote itself has, you know, fox ears added onto it, so it's already really busy. And, you know, it did not need to have an eye slat with 3 vertical lines going through it, and a stream of fire, and a lens flare. It was just too much, and cluttered up the face. So I had to remove it. Here, I actually shaded this emote with green. So as I mentioned earlier, I don't like using green and red together because it looks, you know, it's just culturally looks like Christmas, and Christmas is tacky. But in this case, I think it worked because of the military grunge style of this helmet. Like, it's supposed to be like black, but I decided to kind of have like a little bit of that allusion to military green. And it ends up looking black from far away anyway. And I think it works well. Also because the eye is a little more orange, which is an artistic choice that I made. When I shaded this piece, I treated the eye as if it was literal fire, so the light source is orange as well. But yeah, I think, you know, adding some ambient lighting, trying to make it look as realistic as a cartoon can be. Oh, I also had to increase the ear size and increase the size of the face since I wanted it to be readable and clear for whoever was looking at this emote. As a consequence, the ears got cropped off, but I think that's okay. It's still, you know, you can still tell that it has ears. So, yeah, I'm pretty much getting ready to export it. I did some finishing touches. I had some mistakes when I looked at the PNG, so I redid them. I export them to the 3 required sizes for Twitch emotes. Actually, for the height, when I downsized it to 112 pixels, the resizing algorithm gave the borders like a translucent edge, which it made no sense to me, but I think it's as a result of like the extra sharpening that the algorithm gives. So I had to copy and paste the height emote several times to fill in that translucency and then flatten the image. And then of course for 28 by 28, I just have to manually touch up the pixels. It's just the best way because of the quality loss when you downsize. So there's a lot of testing and viewing, especially with these small emotes. I want to make sure they look really sharp and good. Also, internet browsers have a tendency to anti-alias all of the emotes. I know it's a thing in Chrome, and I think there's a CSS property to like tell the browser to stop doing that to an image. But on Twitch, it's anti-aliased, so I don't think they have that property added, or it's not a thing. That's universal. So yeah, that's basically the end and the 2 emotes that I made for Mr. Fox. So if you're interested in his streams and you like to watch Escape from Tarkov or FPS games, I'll have his link down in the description below. And if you have any questions or comments or, feedback and things, you would like me to cover next time, feel free to, contact me anytime. Leave a comment, subscribe, like, whatever. So, yeah. Thank you all for watching, and until next time.